Welcome to phase 3 of my 5-step cycle of muscle maintenance that I like to call movement. If you've been working on isometrics, activating muscles as well as integrating them into multi-joint positions, you're ready for movement. This is where we get to explore our own individual joint range of motion and really work on neuromuscular control. In this video, I'm going to look at several core calisthenics with the goal of holding some joints still while moving other joints around them. So if you're looking to train towards injury prevention, rehabilitation, or muscle hypertrophy, this is a great next step. So let's learn how to move better with the goal of preserving our joints long term. Welcome to the Joint Longevity Lab by Fitness Integrated Science. I'm Lauren Irk, and in this video, I'm going to go over the third phase of my 5-step cycle of muscle maintenance called movement. These are bodyweight calisthenics, some of my favorites, in fact, and I believe that this is a very important step that a lot of people skip. They're so interested in trying to lift weights that they've never really explored how their body moves. Now, there's all kinds of controversy about whether or not calisthenics can build muscle. But if you think about the progression of overload principle, we are trying to just subtly increase our intensity during an exercise one step at a time so that our body has a reason to leverage more muscle. I believe that calisthenics fit into this scenario very, very well. We have to learn about all our own individual ranges of motion and the different ways that we can leverage our body weight before we start adding external loads. So if you're somebody that's over 50 and maybe you're dealing with some joint pain, some stiffness, this is such an important step, and I encourage you not to skip it. So as we go through some of these exercises, what you're going to see is that I'm going to start from a base move and start adding intensity. If you don't want to add intensity, all you have to do is stay at the base move. So as we get started, let's come into a seated position. And from here, we just begin by sitting up nice and tall. Now we're going to call this neutral spine. And holding this is very, very challenging. But if we come out of neutral spine and just start to come into a flex position, we start to feel our abdominal muscles. Now, as we come back into neutral, we might even be able to exaggerate that, lean forward, and really lift that chest. This is going to be leveraging muscles in our lower back. Now, the key is, can we go to our end ranges back and forth? And this is maybe something that you're not used to exploring. Maybe during your daily life, you tend to spend a lot of time sitting, or maybe you're involved in a repetitive sport that doesn't require you to go into these positions. I believe that exploring our movement is so important. If you ever noticed, your animals do it. Dogs and cats explore their range of motion all the time. People just don't. So let's come over onto our hands and knees, and let's continue this movement, and let's move into what we oftentimes heard of as the cat-cow. So as we round the back, we start to feel muscles in the front of our body tightening, and then as we extend the back, we feel them tightening in the back of the body. So moving this back and forth, I want you to just take some time to explore how far you can move into these positions under control. Notice I'm still not going super fast, although that is an option. Let's go one more time, and then let's just try to find a position between these two, and we're going to call this neutral. So I'm just going to engage muscles in my abdomen as well as my lower back. Now, this is a variation of a calisthenic that we call the plank, which turns into a push-up, right? So let's just start by, from here, tucking the toes under, and see if you can lift those knees off the ground. You can see that I have really opened up the distance between my hands and my feet. So let's go ahead and lower that down and see if our abdominal muscles were able to stabilize our spine the whole time. So we're moving from knee and hip extension to knee and hip flexion, back and forth, and we're trying to hold our spinal muscles nice and steady. This is a great exercise to not only work your core, but it also works your shoulders, your hip flexors, and your quads at the same time. Let's go 2 more times, inhale. And last time, let's just hold that plank position. Now, balancing in plank, this is our multi-joint isometric. Let's just drop one knee down and then the other. Now, I'm going to go at a kind of a pace here with the goal of trying to hold everything nice and steady in the center of my body. So let's go 2 more times. And then finally, let's take both knees back down on the ground. Now for the next progression, let's sink down a little bit closer to the ground. You can totally feel that the muscles that are using to stabilize are having to work a lot harder. So let's again try to press those knees off the ground. So if this is too hard, you could stay up on your hands, squeezing it up and lowering it down. Try to keep your hips from lifting up. That's where that stabilization comes into play. And now let's just alternate again, going from right to left. Nice and easy, trying to hold that steady, keeping the abdominal muscles firm, and release it. Now, as we press both things up, I'm sure you've seen these before. I can even practice dropping my hips and lifting them. This, again, keeps that stabilization effect in my shoulders as well as my spinal flexors. But now I am actually trying to move in and out of that position. So this is a great isometric as well as calisthenic exercise. 2 more. And then finally, let's hold that plank position, lower that all the way back down. So as we push back up onto our hands and knees, you can absolutely tell that we got a great workout just now for our abdominal muscles. So let's come on to the side now, and I want you to notice where your shoulder is in relationship to your wrist. From here, come up onto your knees and move into what is called the side plank. What's really important in some of these exercises is that you're lining up your joints correctly. So if you don't have a lot of abduction, meaning that you can't get your arm to 90 degrees, this may not be the exercise for you right now. Otherwise, I am trying to rotate my shoulder outward so that the pit of the elbow comes forward, and I'm stacking my wrist directly underneath my shoulder. Depress the shoulder out of the neck, and we can already feel muscles stabilizing in the side of the spine. Now we just simply come right back out of it. So let's try that again. So I'm lowering my shoulder and coming into lateral flexion at my spine, and then as we exhale, we come down. This is also a great exercise to work muscles in the hips. Now, right now, I'm keeping my distance from front to back a little bit smaller as a progressive tool. What happens if I'm going to go ahead and stagger my feet a little bit. What happens if I increase that distance? You can tell this is much harder. 2 more. And then even harder still if I try to stack my hips one above the other, dropping the hips down and pressing them back up. I've got a balance challenge here as well. And then finally release it. Now, as we come to the other side, let's try a different position. And I want you to come down now onto your elbows. Now we are closer to the ground, meaning that we are opposing gravity much greater. As you do this, drop your shoulder out of your neck, start to stabilize, drawing ribs to hips. So as we press those hips up, you can see that we are working a little bit differently than we're on the hands. So those of you with wrist issues, you're thinking, this is better for me, but it's also closer to the ground, so I'm working a little bit harder in my core. So let's go 2 more times, stabilizing nice and strong. This is our progression from side plank. And now we hold it. Staggering the feet, let's go ahead and extend the knees. So we've opened up that distance from the hands to the feet, so longer moment arm. As we drop those hips down, we may see our shoulder come out of position, then I immediately have to depress the shoulder, tightening into the waist, and then exhale back down. Let's go 2 more times, coming back in and back down, and then 1 more time, squeezing back in. And now see if we can actually take both legs up. This is going to be the hardest of all the progressions. I'm closer to the floor, and I have less leverage here, moving from front to back. Let's go 2 more times, squeezing it up, and I've got to really work hard to stabilize at the shoulder. I'm moving into hip ab and adduction. Last 2, and release it, which brings me to my next exercise, coming all the way down. Let's start with hip abduction. To me, this is a great core exercise. I'm using the weight of my leg, but a lot of people, they jump right into adding bands and weights on their legs. Let's just explore where we feel maximal resistance. And you're going to notice if you get up too far, your hip starts to jam up and you lose that load feeling. So now let's just keep that leg lifted and now take the bottom leg up and lower down, squeezing it up and lower it down. So I have this movement quality on my bottom leg, and I've got this stabilization movement on the top of the leg. I'm not moving the top, and I am moving at the bottom. So this top hip has to deal with what I like to call variable resistance. It gets heavier here, a little lighter here. Let's go 2 more. And now hold it there, isometric hold for 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now let's jump into our next progression. I'll just change sides. As we bring both of the legs together, now we get to move simultaneously. What's great about this exercise, what I love about this being for the core, there's a lot of things at play here. If you notice, the bottom hip has to squeeze into the top hip, the bottom leg. So this is giving me some strength across my adductors, my inner thighs. Not to mention the top hip, the biggest one here, my abductor muscles, the outer hip muscles, they're having to leverage the weight of both legs. The whole time, what's happening here is that I'm shortening across my waist, which is great for spinal lateral flexors, my spinal erectors. Let's go 3 more, and 2, and 1. So as we hold this here, let's just stabilize for 5, 6, 7, 8, and we are ready for the next exercise. So now as we move onto our belly, we move into the back of our body. This is a great position because this is one that very few people actually work on. So a lot of our stabilization work, isometric, might just be holding a cobra. But what happens when we move in and out of position? So as we lower this down, we feel all this area relaxing. And now as we come back up, let's just see how we actually are able to balance our head and shoulder position so that our lower back can pick it up. Let's go lifting up, squeezing, and lower back down. Now, if you're having a difficult time creating any motion at all, you may want to put a blanket or 2 folded up under your hips to raise the floor up so that you start off in a more draped position. Let's go 2 more. And here. Now, I want you to hold this upper body steady. Don't let this move. There's my stabilization. Now, let's try adding a leg raise. This is hip extension. This is going to cause further shortening in my lower back. So I am going to call this a calisthenic because I'm using the weight of my body to deal with spinal extension. All these muscles in my lower back are having to hold up the weight of my leg. So you're going to feel some gluteal work here, big time. You're going to feel muscles along that lower back. Let's go 2 more and down. Now, once you have mastered the ability to hold still, then it might be appropriate to add motion, going into the maximal position and then coming back out of it. So as I go into the next one, I'm actually picking up a passenger every single time that I go. Now, you may notice that your range of motion will sacrifice when you start adding load like this. Let's go 2 more. And now, let's see if we can go back to a holding position. Walk your legs together. So there's something. We have a little isometric. Can we raise both legs up? Oh, that's so hard. Holding and lower it down. Squeeze, holding and lower it down. 2 more times. Squeeze, hold. And you guessed it, we move into our last progression, which is moving upper and lower body. Now, obviously, if you're someone with a certain spinal condition, maybe you have some stenosis or herniated disc, spondylolisthesis, something like that, you may have to talk with your doctor about whether or not you're able to do these things. And I would definitely encourage you to eliminate the upper and or lower body if needed. You can also eliminate movement as needed. 1 more time, holding, breathing, and let's let that go. Now, as we leave our legs on the ground, let's take one hand behind the head. From here, we introduce rotation and then back down. Rotation and back down. Let's go for 3, 2, and then 1 more time holding it here. Now, let's see if we can pick up the other leg. Hold for 5, 6, 7, and release it. Changing sides. Let's bring that up. And again, moving into that shortened position and down. And you still want to notice as you're going through this range of motion, maybe you're noticing that one side does not move as far as the other. That's an indicator that you potentially have some muscle weakness. Let's go 2 more. Every single time I'm getting a little bit better. And last one, let's add that other leg, isometric hold, and release it. Now, as we come back out of that position, you can definitely feel that things have changed around the center of the body. So now let's practice what I like to call the quadruped. So let's take one leg straight back. So we're still hitting those gluteal muscles, but now let's add the opposite arm, holding that here. So you're feeling that opposition from right to left, and then release it. And then as we change sides, we are here holding it. And back here. So let's go for 3, and back down, 2, and back down. Now, if you're somebody with a lower back issue, this is one of the best exercises you can work on. So let's hold this here. Now, see if you can flex into the elbow, which is causing me to round the back, flex into the knee, and potentially see if you can touch the two together. Now, as you inhale, we go right back into the same place. This is a great isometric as well as concentric, right? As I'm moving into the position, that I'm going to do a little bit of a squeeze and then back out. That is going to train a lot of our spinal rotators here. Let's go 2 more times, rounding it in. And 1 more time, holding it, bring it out, and let it go. So let's just change sides, and this is where we get to really explore. So as we take that shoulder up, the opposite leg straight back, noticing how that feels. Now as we flex into that hip, let's see if we can draw the elbow to the knee. And if you can't, it's totally fine. But here's what I want you to notice. Are you able to do it on one side, but not on the other? That is going to give you some wonderful information, again, about whether or not you have some imbalances here. So let's go for 3, and bring it through, and 2. Tighten through the abdominals. Good. 1 more time. Now hold it here, breathing, and let it go. Now, before we hit the next piece of our quadruped, let's try a little filler exercise. I want you to tuck your toes and see if you're able to hover this position. Now, we're still essentially in plank. So let's go back and go into that full plank, then go back into our quadruped. Lower the knees, and then push it back up. So we walk back into plank. Now, notice if your hips came up. Come back out of it, lower the hips, and then press back up. 2 more times, coming into that full plank, going back into our quadruped stance. Take a break by dropping the knees, shorten the lever, and lifting, and then 1 more time. Go all the way back into our quadruped stance, lower, and lift it. All right, so now as we come back down again, let's revisit our contralateral position. So as we take the shoulder forward and the opposite leg back, you can feel muscles activating from one hip to the opposite side. This time I want you to bend your knee, and a lot of this is going to be leverage as well as neuromuscular capabilities. I want you to twist back and see if you're capable of touching your foot. From here, reach it all the way back out. Do it again, squeezing. So what's holding still? First of all, my hip position. I'm trying to keep my hip in extension the whole time, this glute here. Also, the spine. You're trying to keep your waistline from dipping down. So your spinal flexors are kicking in the whole time. Let's go for 3, and 2. 1 more time, holding that in, and let it go. So take that information in as we go to the other side, taking the opposite leg and arm, holding that for a minute. Now as we bend the knee, reach back in here. And lots of things can affect your range of motion. Previous injury. Sometimes it's about joint surfaces. Maybe you're not born with a lot of joint surface. Maybe you have a lot of tissue back there. Maybe you're dealing with an injury right now, cartilage disruption, something like that. Let's go 2 more times. Maybe it's a movement that you're not accustomed to and you've never really strengthened this position. 2 more. And 1 more time. Squeezing it back, holding it, and reaching that all the way out. All right, so now as we spread our fingers wide, let's go back into our hover, push the hands forward, press the knees back, and we move into our inverted V position. From here, bend your knees and come back into your hover. Do it again, inverted V, and then back into a hover. So this is giving us an opportunity to explore not only holding that position, but moving in and out of position. And one thing that we are developing here is we're not only looking at muscle strength, we're looking at endurance. We're trying to make several muscle contractions happen in a row. Type 1 fibers. Let's go 2 more times. And 1. So I hope you can start to see the value in body weight training. So let's go ahead and lower that down. Walk your legs forward now and have a seat. Now as we come back onto our back, I want you to lower yourself down to the floor, placing your hands behind your head. Lower your waistline down on your exhale breath, draw your ribs to your hips, and then inhale coming back in. Now this is our classic crunch exercise, coming into a basic abdominal crunch. Let's go for 3 and 2. Now the idea here, the isometric that you may have done in some of my previous videos, I really talked a lot about how we could really focus on driving the rib cage down closer to the top of the ilium, the pelvis. This is very important skill to have, just learning how to contract those muscles. But now as I'm moving in and out of this position, if you notice, I'm still spending just a teeny bit of time at the top, squeezing that tissue before I come out of position. Let's go 2 more times. Remember that you do have to earn the right to go faster, and control is always the currency. 1 more time, and now we hold it. Bring both of your legs now into your chest. So here we have that stabilization effect while we're doing movement. So see if you can tap 1 foot to the floor and then bring it back in. Do the same thing on the other side and bring it back in. So what's happening is our stabilization requirements in our core is changing. As one leg goes down, it makes that side feel a little heavier. So we have to work on controlling that. Let's go 2 more times. Now, what if we decided we want to move this a little further away? We know what's going to happen, right? It becomes harder to stabilize here as we're moving. Let's go for 3 and 2 and 1. So now as we come up, let's eliminate the upper body, dropping the head down. Press the lower back into the floor. On your inhalation breath, let's just hover that leg along the ground. And hover. And down. So each one of these are getting progressively harder. This is, again, that idea of progressive overload, incrementally making the exercise more challenging. We are leveraging body weight. And this is going to serve us so much if our goal eventually is to add loads, such as using elastomers or dumbbells. All right, so now let's take one leg out. And then from here, I'm going to take the opposite elbow to the knee and come right back in. Let's do the same thing on the other side. One leg goes out, and then I shift to the opposite leg and back in. So let's see if we can put those together. Exhale and back in. If this is bothering your lower back for whatever reason, kick that leg up just a little bit higher. 2 more times, exhale, and 1 more time. Now, thinking about the idea of more time under tension, let's hold this up so we never kind of get a break here. And now let's just see if we can't go into more of a fluid motion, moving from side to side. So let's go for 5, 6, 7, and 8. Bringing both of the legs in and letting that come down. Now with your arms down by your sides, let's see if we can now extend both of the knees. Press that lower back into the ground. On the exhalation breath, lower both legs to the floor. This is a wonderful example of holding something still while something is moving. So I'm keeping that lower back pressed into the ground, which is spinal flexion. Then with both of my legs pressing together, I have my adduction. Now we're moving into hip extension. So my abs have to work so hard. If you feel like it's too much, just come down, take a break, and go right back into the next one. Let's go 1 more time. Exhale, breathing. And now as we bring our legs all the way down, I want you to bend your knees and come into a bridge. So we're walking our shoulders underneath us. Moving into the back of the body, one of my favorite core exercises is absolutely the bridge. I'm hitting my hamstrings, I'm hitting my glutes, my lumbar spine, my mid-back, and my scapular retractors. There's a lot going on right here. So let's just practice lowering those hips down and then squeezing that right back up. Now, isometrics, working on an isometric from a bridge position, One great thing about doing that is it teaches us where our end ranges are. And one of the things that I hear a lot from people that are performing this bridge is that their lower back starts to get jammed because they're just trying to force their hips way up to the ceiling before they ever even understand how far their hips move. So let's just come up to the top of that motion, whatever that is, work on digging those heels into the ground and pulling the shoulder blades back. Now from here, keeping the chin lifted, we have all the stabilization work. Let's lift one leg off the ground and then bring that down. So we're still holding the essence of bridge. That's our multi-joint isometric exercise. But by lifting one foot off the floor, we are challenging so much of our spinal rotators, having to try to hold this still. So let's go for 4 and back down, squeeze and back down. So if you could like have a red line that's drawn right across your hip, and this was being filmed, you would notice that that red line, your hips would never move off of that red line. 2 more times. And now let's hold one leg up in the air. Hold it there. Now from here, we drop and lift. This is a great example. We're still stabilizing through the spine, but I'm moving through the hip. When do you do this when you're strength training? All the time. Think about things like squats and deadlifts and things. We're having to stabilize that spine while we're moving in and out of position while managing weight. Here's my weight right here, my leg. My leg is the dumbbell. Hold it here. Now take your leg up. See if you can move your leg in front of you. Did you see how the exercise just got harder? Lowering down and pressing up. We have a longer lever. So as far as this glute is concerned, we have just now picked up a heavier weight. This is our progressive overload. This is the very thing that's going to drive that muscle hypertrophy that we're looking for. Holding it. Now, can we stabilize and move that leg in and out of position? So the resistance itself is constantly changing. This area over here is having to work very hard to stabilize. This is such a great next step towards just working with isometrics. So if you're a yogi, for instance, and you're looking for how to get into weight training, this might be a great progressive next step. So go and lower that foot and come down. You can tell as far as exhausting that glute, man, we just absolutely did that. So let's bring that other leg in, bringing your shoulders back. Let's start over here. Now this side has been kind of getting a little bit of a break. So noticing where your deficits are as you're moving in and out of position is also super, super important. You will notice as well, if you're involved in something like yoga where you're trying to do range of motion training, this type of training as well can help you as you go back to isometrics. Moving in and out of positions will help your isometric positions get even stronger. So now as we hold that there, let's see if we can extend that leg. And now we lower that leg down to where it's a longer lever. Now as we lower, whoa, we are picking up a lot of load. Down and back in. So feel how this leg wants to have us drop. We're having to really stabilize on the opposite side. Let's go 2 more. And 1. If your hamstring is cramping, if your glutes are cramping, that should tell you that you have some inherent weaknesses. So now as we raise the leg, it's easier. And as we lower the leg, it gets harder. So you may notice that your hip is wanting to drop to the ground. Are you still able to stabilize across your shoulder girdle, across the back of your neck? 2 more. 1 more. And we release that down. Now as we take both of our legs up to the ceiling, let's just take our hands behind the head again, coming into that crunching position. Lower your legs now all the way down. Did you notice that it's actually a little easier after we finish with that bridge exercise? Lower your head down, draw your knees in. Now push your hands into the ground. See if you can come into that reverse crunch, holding and then releasing that down. From here, hands behind your head, crunch. I want you to take your legs out. Inhale, breath. Can you flex at the hips and lower? Exhale, crunching, stabilizing through the spine, lowering the legs. That's going to hit those internal obliques. Draw that back in, head down, reverse crunch. Exhale, bring that down. Come back into your crunch. Extend from the hips and the knees. Inhale, flexing into those hips. Exhale, lowering the head, draw those legs in. Reverse crunch. Taking that down, come into that abdominal position. Extend the knees out. Inhale, flexing from the hips. Exhale, lower, last time. Moving back to here. Exhale and release. Pressing those feet into the ground now. Let's come back into our bridge position. Marching in place, lift and lift. For 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, holding the bridge, let's step out and back in. Now, there's no lateral resistance. I don't have a thigh band on, and we could definitely make the argument that that would make it harder, but I'm still leaving home base. So think about the stabilization requirements as I leave home base. 2 more. Now, let's make for a long bridge. So I step it out and bring it in. And you can definitely tell that it is causing my gluteals to work much, much harder. Let's go 2 more. 1 more. And now both feet walk halfway out. Press up for 8 little presses, 7. So I'm spending time under tension at my end range, working on endurance, working on trying to squeeze those muscles, as well as lifting my body weight and let it go. So now as we draw those knees in, let's press that lower back into the ground while pushing the knees up into the hands. Then as we exhale, rock all the way back into the center. Now as we roll our shoulders back, what you should notice after that is that was a pretty significant workout just leveraging our body weight. And if that's something that you've never explored, if you just went to the gym and immediately hopped on the equipment, this might be something to really consider, that there's so many ways to keep our joints healthy, learning how to squeeze our muscles, learning about our range of motion, and progressing strength training over time. If you'd like more information about this, Fitness Integrated Science TV is built on the 5-step cycle of muscle maintenance with very many programs, challenges, and physical therapy recipes that you can follow. I'll put a link below. Most of all, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with anyone that you know that I can help, and make sure you're subscribed so that you never miss a video. Thanks for watching.